Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you. Today I saw a story with Jeff Hardy talking with the Daily Star, talking about the fact that he's frustrated that TNA isn't achieving the success that he thinks it should. Honestly, it sounds like Jeff Hardy believes that TNA should be a bigger promotion in the world of the United States, and he's just sort of letting it be known that he thinks that TNA should be getting over more. He is quoted in the story as saying, "I just don't understand it, and I never will, because I've watched so many TNA shows that are just great. Drew Galloway is awesome. I love watching him wrestle and cut promos. EC3 is right there. He is the top dog. Yeah, it's frustrating to wonder why and understand why it is not taken off like it rightfully should have." Honestly, in my mind, I think there's been times when TNA really was, putting on good shows. If you go back to, I believe it was late last year or early this year when when TNA was running the sort of tag team round robin tournament. I'm not really sure what to call it. It was a best of five, or you had the Hardys, you had the Wolves, and you had the Dudleys, and they were all in there, and they sort of, had a regular match, which led to a tables match, and it finally got all the way to where they had a, damn, what do they call them? They're not tag team turmoil matches, basically the TLC matches, full mayhem, something like that, but and that was a really good progression of an angle, trying to get the Wolves over by using the Hardys, by using the Dudleys, and sort of using their success from WWE. Honestly, in my mind, if I think about why TNA isn't a big deal in the world of wrestling in the United States and around the world, honestly, I think about, just all of the sort of broken promises and all of the sort of times that TNA has climbed the ladder, only to have, like some sort of a Vince Russo swerve, only to make it just, completely just slap a wrestling fan in the face. Like, you thought you were doing good, and now we're back to nothing. It seems like they always get to the top, and they always make a turn. If you think about, the time that I think TNA was really climbing the top of the ladder, and one of the times that I was really into TNA was also a time that, honestly, I will show that there's two sides to every coin. I thought that the Aces and Eights was a great angle, but also at the same time, there was a lot of people who looked at the Aces and Eights angle and just was like, this is a ripoff of Sons of Anarchy, it's not even a good ripoff, and they just basically thought that the group of, once before Bully Ray was exposed as a leader, this was a group that was built up of Doc, Mike Knox, D'Lo Brown, just, all of these WWE sort of like, they weren't even really stars of WWE, as much as you like Luke Gallows because what he's doing now in New Japan and talking shop and everything like that, like, these guys were here on the scale of WWE stars, like being up here, they come to TNA, they have this group, soon, wasn't like, Devon sort of exposed as one of the first guys when they ripped the mask off, which might have been at Bound for Glory the year before, but, once they finally got to Bully Ray versus AJ Styles, that was something really, really good. And the rumors were out there that AJ's contract was coming up, but because of the fact that they put the championship on AJ Styles at Bound for Glory, their WrestleMania, you would think that they're going to turn the corner. They're going to sign AJ. You can remember all of the sort of ESPN press. It wasn't on ESPN Sports Center, but it was on ESPN.com. They wrote a story about Dixie Carter and Bound for Glory. AJ Styles was being interviewed there. You think that they were going to tie everything together, make sure AJ's a big piece of the puzzle for the upcoming few years. And next thing you know, it's January, and AJ's gone. He's not even in the company anymore. It made no sense at all, and it seemed like at that point, they're not even at the point they were like in 2005, 2006 when you had Angle versus Joe. They had, sort of started to go down and down. Even like the beginning of 2010 when, the Bischoff and Hogan era was about to start, you thought that they were going to start climbing, and they just started dropping. But honestly, that was my kind of like point when I say that this is when TNA bottomed out, because then they put the championship on the Magnus, which, then it wasn't right away, but then you put the championship on Eric Young, and as much as you look at EC3, and he was a good champion, but he wasn't a good champion for what you think is a good number 2 promotion in the United States. I mean, you look at EC3, and And for so many years, TNA is brought in like every WWE knockoff there's been. Anybody's been fired, anybody's in a dispute, anybody's got cut, anybody who's left because of a wellness problem, such as Booker T. Once they come to TNA, they're brought on. You think of the first one, I believe the first guy to come in was Raven. After Raven, you had Rhino. Then you had, Christian Cage, who ended up really being a big star, and they ended up making him one of the top guys in the company. But then you got a guy like Booker T, who some people have said went into TNA and took it as a working vacation, who never really did anything. And it's just like every single guy, when you think of, Billy Gunn, they get dropped by them, they come to them, and they try to, use that exposure to make them a big star. There's a reason why they weren't in WWE anymore, and they were in TNA, because, they just, I didn't want to say that, but they're not on that level anymore, and that's why they get dropped. And people look at that as sort of like TNA being this knockoff, second-rate, AAA, Bush League promotion. There's been times when TNA was right up there. They do have big stars. When Jeff Hardy came to TNA, he was probably the number 2 star in the world of professional wrestling. And if you think about, make your list of who are the biggest stars in wrestling now, I don't think Jeff Hardy cracks the top 10. I think that if Jeff Hardy walks into a room, such as like WrestleCon or anything at WrestleMania, fans are going to be like, that's Jeff Hardy, and they're going to recognize him. But I think when you write down your top 10 favorite wrestlers, I don't think Jeff Hardy really cracks many top 10s anymore, just because of the fact that he's on TNA. It's sort of looked at as a second-rate promotion, and that's just how it's always been. It just seems like, this is the place where guys go when, they're not in WWE anymore. They are, when they were on Spike, they were here, and when they signed that Destination America deal, it was quite obvious that they were right here. They're about to lose this Destination America deal, and they're looking for a new deal come the beginning of the year. Who knows where they're going to go? Maybe they crawl back to Spike, and they can use that to sort of climb up here, and they're not going to be making as much money. That there's a rumor about them going back there. But I mean, if you don't get Spike, and be able to play off of Bellator and those angles and things like that, I mean, where are you going to go? I mean, like, you're going to go farther down the cable train? I don't even really get Destination America here on the cable package that's offered in Sacramento. So what if you go to a lesser rate and you fall down to here? I root for TNA. I hope that they do good. But when they do things like they did at Bound for Glory this year, honestly, like my friend Pinko, he hasn't watched TNA in... I can't remember how long he said. I think he said he hasn't watched in over at least a year. But when Matt Hardy won the championship, it was a good feeling. And he was like, I'm going to give TNA a chance. And the next day, on YouTube, not even on the television show, Matt Hardy drops the title and he just sort of cancels his plans. Like, nope, I was going to watch TNA, but I'm not going to watch him anymore. This is stupid. This is dumb. Maybe if you would have done the title change at a Genesis or a Slammiversary or anything that's not supposed to be the biggest show of the year, and then had Hardy dump the title, maybe that would have brought some, like, maybe we would have brought some speculation about, I wonder what they're going to do. This is going to be good. But, WrestleMania, Bound for Glory, this is supposed to be the kickoff of the next year. Like, this is our exclamation point. This is where we are now, and we want to be here next year. But it seemed like, you don't take steps backwards in 24 hours. So, I don't know. That's my take on TNA and why they're not as successful as they should be. Honestly, in my mind, I think you put a lot of the blame on maybe Dixie Carter. I think that at times she surrounded herself with some really good people that write television, do things like that. But Dixie's a person that I think every once in a while just sort of does something on a whim, and it always seems to be a big step backwards in the long run.